One of the more famous stories of the Passover Haggadah is the story of the rabbis sitting and eating in Bnei Brak. At the very beginning, right after the Manishtana, we are told the story of Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Tarfon, and others that were sitting in Bnei Brak, and they were studying the entire night until their students came and told them, "Rabbis, the time has come to eat the time has come to say the Shema of the morning." The rabbis were so engaged in learning that they didn't even notice that the morning has come, and that is the ideal way to fulfill the mitzvah of telling the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim, telling the story of the Exodus from Egypt, so much so that you're so engaged in it you don't even notice how much time has gone by. Historians are fascinated by this story. Who is there? It is Rabbi Akiva, the leader of the Bar Kokhba rebellion. Why didn't they see the sun rising? Was it because they are hiding in a cave from the Romans? Why wasn't Rabbi Gamliel there? Does that have to do with the fact that he was deposed from leadership around the same time? There's so much to unpack in that story historically. However, there's another very important aspect, and that is, who are the rabbis hanging out with? They are hanging out with their students. The idea of the Seder is that we hang out with students, children. We tell the next generation the story of the Exodus. Interestingly, a very similar and parallel story is quoted in the Tosefta, the Mishnaic source. The Tosefta says the story of Rabbi Gamliel, who was sitting with his students, and they were discussing the laws of the Korban Pesach the entire night. There were two radically different schools of thought. After the destruction of the Second Temple, after the loss of the observance of the holiday of Passover, the way we knew it, with the Korban Pesach, the way it was done in the temple, in the absence of a temple, the rabbis didn't know, how do we observe Pesach? And so you had Rabbi Gamliel's approach. Rabbi Gamliel's approach is focused on the laws of the Korban Pesach. Hence, the statement at the end of Magid, Rabbi Gamliel says, you have to say Pesach, Matzah, Umaror. You have to speak about each aspect of the Pesach, the Korban Pesach, the Matzah, the Maror. Rabbi Akiva had a very different outlook. Rabbi Akiva said the main focus after the destruction of the temple, the focus of the night has to be telling the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim, which is why he was sitting with the rabbis. And unlike Rabban Gamliel, who was discussing the aspects of the Korban Pesach, Rabbi Akiva and his students were discussing the Exodus from Egypt. Two different approaches. What they did have in common is the focus on teaching their students and passing it on to a future generation, even through the darkest of times, even through the Bar Kokhba rebellion and all that happened at the time. Wishing you a Chag Pesach Kasher V'Sameach. Happy Pesach.